My son's
is on.
My son's mad at me because I made him get outside and mow the lawn before it rains.
Builds character.
I'm watching him angrily mow the lawn out the window. He's young, he'll adjust.
If you want to really teach him, have him come mow mine.
Yeah. That'll learn him something.
Yes. Keep that attitude up. I'll find you more grass to mow. You guys got the email. Sahani's not going to make it today, right?
Yep.
She's already out of the agenda.
And the state. Yep.
You can do Toastmasters from out of the state. We've got one guy doing it from India.
Yeah, she's got a function that she has to attend.
Did we ever find out about going back to TCC?
It's a good question.
Do it.
Yes. So, Aaron, were you able to speak to I forget the guy's name, Provost?
So I forget his name as well, but I did. I contacted him, and he's no longer at TCC, so he provided me with another point of contact.
Oh,
Her name is Tia, and so we communicated via email. She contacted me 3 days ago, so she wants to speak via phone. So I told her I gave her my number and told her to contact me at her earliest convenience. So I have to hear from her. So that's where we're at with that.
Okay.
All right, folks.
So we're looking into it because the students have the students gone back?
So they started the semester, but they didn't tell me. So
No.
I
Okay.
believe the semester starts on like the 8th or something like that.
yeah, she said that they had already started, and that's why
Mm.
she took so long to get back to me. So I suspect I'll hear from her soon, or I'll follow up with her, and I'll let you all know. All right, but with that, we're at 10:01, so let's go ahead and kick this off. And I don't think everyone was here last time, and so what we are doing now, I will lead us in the pledge. However, I will be the only one to say the pledge for us all. That way we're not all talking over each other. And that's how we're going to move forward with any type of scenario in which we all would speak. So with that, please stand and join me. And I will hopefully that worked. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I'd like to turn it over to our president, Earl.
Good morning, everybody. First day of this long weekend, though having worked from home for a long time, it's hard to distinguish between long weekends, and I lose track of the days occasionally. But it has cooled down, so it'll be in the 70s, I believe, or low 80s for the next 3 days, so make sure you get out and enjoy it. So I see we have a guest. Sechin?
Yes, it's Sechkin.
Sechkin. Okay, how'd you find us?
I saw the events on Eventbrite, and I was just interested in joining. If you don't mind having me in the group.
Oh, no, not a problem. Can we share documents in the chat? I don't know. Anyone know? No? Okay. Oh, we have another guest.
I can try to share one. Hold on.
Well, just because we can share like the guest sheet that shows the different roles and how the meeting is scheduled, or the format of the meeting, it'll make a little more sense. So we also have another guest, Isaiah.
All right. Hey, morning.
How'd you find us?
Found you guys on YouTube. So.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a good thing we're putting those things out there.
Oh yeah, it helps.
Okay, great. Well, welcome.
All right. Thanks.
So just for the benefit of you, Isaiah and Sechkin, so our meeting typically consists of 3 parts. Prepared speeches, which are those that people have created beforehand in order to meet educational goals. Table topics, which is impromptu speaking. Someone will throw out a topic and you have 1 or 2 minutes to speak on it. That's a perfect opportunity for guests to get involved if you're so inclined. And then evaluations, in which we have people assigned to evaluate the prepared speeches, and they will give a short speech evaluating those speeches. So that's the format that you'll see. So a couple of things I want to talk about. So the International Convention was last week. If you had a chance to log on and watch it, this is the first time it was virtual. It was supposed to be in Paris this year. Unfortunately, they had canceled it because of that, but I believe next year it's supposed to be in Paris again. So if you want to make plans. But they have a lot of videos online. Let's see, I put it in the chat. So they recorded a lot of the videos, including the World Championship of Public Speaking, which is, it's amazing to watch those people speak, because it blows me away every time I watch these people. Especially there's a couple, there's at least one that I saw, he's been in the finals like the past few years. And it's unusual because he's Chinese, but he lives in Australia. I believe he was born in Australia, so he has an Australian accent. It's just, I don't know, it's neat. So I put the link in the chat. If you get a chance, go check it out. There's a lot of good videos on there. Second thing, dues are due by the end of the month. So if you haven't paid your dues for the next pay cycle, which is the next 6 months, you can contact one of the officers or hang out afterwards. We'll get you hooked up. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was I wanted to throw out the idea of switching to Zoom from Jitsi. So initially I chose Jitsi because it was easy. You just had a URL, you clicked on it, you went right in. You didn't have to download anything, install anything. But it is a little limited in the capability that it has. Zoom is the application of choice for Toastmasters. The district has several accounts that we would, I believe, have access to. I don't know. But for instance, one of the things that we could leverage in Zoom is the ability to poll. So you can create a poll on the fly, throw it up on the screen, and people can answer questions, and we could leverage that to do the best of categories. That way we don't have to use Zoom or Google Forms like we've been using, and it'll make it a little easier. And it has the ability to record, ability to live stream as well. It's just a little neater. Jitsi is open source, meaning it's free. People are doing it on their own time, and there's a lot of functionality there, but at the same time, because it's open source, you're not going to get all the good features you would get from a live pay for it type application. So with that, think about it. At the end of the meeting, I'll ask you guys again what you guys think. So that's all I had. So Jay Weezy, that's not true. I'm just trying to make it more convenient for everybody. That's Jess BT Dubs. That's her preferred name now. So if you refer to her by name, Jay Weezy is her name of choice. So now I will hand it off to our VPE, Vice President of Education and Toastmaster of the Day, Tyler.
Good morning, everyone, fellow Toastmasters and our two guests today. Recently, I've been quarantined. I came down with the coronavirus, so my 3-day weekend has turned into a 2.5-week weekend. And during this time, I've been spending a lot of time reading. I've been reading books like Man's Search for Meaning or When Breath Turns to Air. They're books very focused on meaning and purpose. And so one of the things I want us all to focus on this morning is to think about meaning. Ask yourself, why are we here this morning? Why did I come to Toastmasters? For me, Toastmasters is a place where I can practice and learn with other people who are motivated to learn and practice with me. So whenever I go into a Toastmasters meeting, I am thinking about, okay, what am I going to get out of this? What am I going to learn today? How can I be a better public speaker, whether it's by actively participating or paying attention to what other people are doing? And that's something that I want us all to just take a little moment and think about our intention for what we are going to get out of this meeting. And while we think about that, I want to read us all a poem by Mary Oliver from her book, Dreamwork. It's called Sunrise. Sunrise. You can die for it, an idea or the world. People have done so brilliantly, letting their small bodies be bound to the stake, creating an unforgettable fury of light. But this morning, climbing the familiar hills in the familiar fabric of dawn, I thought of China and India and Europe. And I thought how the sun blazes for everyone just so joyfully as it rises. Under the lashes of my own eyes, I thought, I am so many. What is my name? What is the name of the deep breath I would take over and over for all of us? Call it whatever you want. It is happiness. It is another one of the ways to enter fire. Again, as we go throughout this Toastmasters meeting, I would all like us to focus on, in the beginning, on the sunrise of this meeting. Right now, we are beginning. And I'd like us all to set our intention for what we plan to learn today. We have a number of wonderful speakers today, and we also have our assistants who will help us facilitate the meeting. Starting off, I would like to introduce the topics master of the day. She's going to introduce her role in the meeting, and that is Jay Weezy. Or Jess.
Yes, it's me. I was just trying to get things straight over here. I apologize. Greetings, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'm going to be the topics master today, and the purpose of the topics master is to facilitate table topics, where guests and members will have the opportunity to practice their impromptu speaking. I will introduce a topic and call upon members who will be given around 2 minutes to speak on the subject. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Jess. Now I would like to turn it over to the general evaluator of the day, Vernell, so she can introduce all of her helpers. Brunel?
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. On this nice, cooler morning, I am the general evaluator for today. My role is to evaluate the entire meeting. I also have the responsibility of calling upon my helpers, and I will begin with the timer, who is Earl.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Part of being an effective speaker is being able to express your thoughts succinctly and in a timely manner. And as a timer, I will help our members, our speakers, reach that goal by signaling them when they've reached certain points during their speeches. I will signal green for when they've reached the minimum time for that particular speech, red when they've reached the maximum time limit, and yellow halfway in between. Prepared speeches are typically 5 to 7 minutes. Table topics are typically 1 to 2 minutes, and evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you. The next helper is Listen Up in Awe, and that is Darnell.
Good morning. My role today is listen up in awe. And the first part of it, one thing that's important in communication besides speaking is listening. And we do that most of the time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask questions for the speakers, as far as the speakers, whether it was the evaluator, the prepared speeches, or the table topics, and anything throughout the meeting. I may ask you a question just to make sure you're listening. And as far as the odd counter, if I'm listening for filler words, the ums, the ands, the double words, just to make sure that we aren't using any of those. General evaluator.
Thank you. Our next is the grammarian, but she's on the agenda is Michelle, and she's not here. Would anyone like to fill that role?
I'll do it. Skiduma.
Thank you. You want to have a minute to think about the word of the day?
I'll Google it real fast. Hold on. Okay. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Today I will be the grammarian, in which case I'll listen to everyone's proper use of the English language. I'll also listen for different quotes that people use that are standout performances that we can use in the future. Today, and also going to be picking today's word of the day, and hopefully you'll hear it throughout the day when you come up and speak. And the word of the day is heyday, which is a noun, and it means the period of one's greatest popularity, vigor, or prosperity. Again, the word is heyday, the period of one's greatest popularity, vigor, or prosperity. So in use, it says, in its early, the heyday of George Washington was when he lived in 1720. I'm sorry, I don't know when he lived, but you get the picture. Again, heyday. I'm going to put it in the text message. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes my role and Toastmaster of the day.
All right. Thank you very much, Brunel. Now on to our prepared speeches of the day. First, we are going to have the lovely Jay Weezy give us a speech. It is titled "The Worst Day at Work Ever," and the speech length is 5 to 7 minutes. Jay Weezy.
You're muted.
Mulligan. Okay. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Have you ever been 18? Because I have. And I'm here to tell you that there are some lessons at the ripe old age of 18 that you just have to learn the hard way. The sordid tale that I'm about to tell you is a tale of the way that I learned that some days you just don't get out of bed. Now, when I was 18, I was running 2 restaurants, 2 pizza places. And what this means is that my Saturday and Sunday mornings generally involve me being up really early and at work. Because I was 18, what it also meant is that when I showed up to work really early, I was a little worse for wear. So this particular morning, I showed up to work and I was groggy, but I'm a workhorse, so I was ready to get after it. So I walked in the door. I looked at my restaurant, and it was filthy, filthy. My tables were all a mess. The person who closed up the night before had not cleaned or mopped the floors at all. I was livid. So I take a deep breath. I'm talking full on box breathing, 8 count in, 8 count out. I open my eyes. And it's still a mess. So much for box breathing. Didn't fix anything. So I walk to the back of the restaurant. I get the big old bucket that we use to fill up to mop the floors. Bend down, turn on the faucet, start to fill up the bucket. I get my little scoop of detergent powder, put it in the bucket. And this is a big bucket, so it's going to take a few minutes. So I turn back around and I head to the front of the store to start counting the register money. I sit down, and because I had made some less than wise decisions the night before, I was still groggy. And as I'm counting my money, I don't even notice that the can of soda that I reached for next to me was not mine. Nor did I notice the trace amounts of ash on the top of this can of soda. I don't know if you have any experience in restaurants, but 20 years ago, everybody smoked afterwards when they were closing, and apparently I'm sure she was a wonderful human being, but she used this can as her ashtray. I found that out the hard way because I go to take a drink and get a mouthful of ash and cigarette butts. So I run across the room and I turn on the faucet at the little sink on the wall, and I'm just trying to get the demons out of my mouth now. So I stay there for several minutes, rinsing and thinking about my decisions in life that had led me to this point. And as I turn off the water, I kind of stay for a minute because I'm traumatized. And I hear the sound of water hitting the floor in the back of the restaurant. I left the water on and the bucket was overflowing. So I run to the back of the restaurant And in my eagerness to get there quickly, I came in too hot, y'all. I hit this water and legs up in the air. I'm on my back now. And in the fall, I knocked over the detergent. So the powder blows up everywhere. And now the water's still running. So there's suds everywhere, up way high. Also in my fall, I had jarred the shelf behind me. So some fly paper came down and is on my face. So I'm laying there on the floor in running water, glorious pink bubbles everywhere, fly paper on my face, and my driver walks in, my delivery driver. And she kind of looks around the corner and she says, "Honey, are you all right?" I couldn't say anything. So then she offers me this sage piece of advice. "Honey, some days you just don't get out of bed." Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests.
All right. Thank you very much, Jess. Sometimes the wild nights we have in our heyday can get us into a lot of trouble. I appreciate you sharing that experience with us. I'm sure we all have similar stories, though. I can't recall ever drinking out of a ashtray. Our next presenter is going to be Aaron, and Aaron is presenting from his path, Presentation Mastery Level 2, and the project is Understanding Your Communication Style. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech titled Keep Calm and Communicate On. In this speech, Aaron will talk about his communication style according to the Toastmasters test. Aaron?
Thank you, Tyler. There are 195 countries in the world today, speaking 6,500 different languages. Humans have been developing ways to communicate for many thousands of years. Whether that be cave art or mastering the written language, or simply body language, or even sign language. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This morning, I will be sharing with you my own personal communication style. Understanding our communication style isn't just important for a public speaking situation, but it can benefit us both personally and professionally. And for me personally, in this present time, it's important to understand how I communicate, because I feel humanity is struggling to listen and to understand each other. I think we could all use a little bit more patience in this world and in this time. By taking our time to understand and approach a situation or a person in the proper mindset, we can position ourselves to solve problems, to resolve conflict, and to maintain a feeling of peace. And an attribute that I feel works hand in hand with being patient is having an ability to listen actively. Active listening has been something I've been focused on these past few years because it's something that personally and that I've observed is something that we don't necessarily do right. And perhaps that's because we don't understand what it actually is. There are a variety of different listening styles out there, but active listening is when we put in the work to really understand what our conversation partner is saying and getting clarification when we don't understand, to reinforce the message and to be aware of their body language and your body language, and not just simply be waiting for your turn to speak. And lastly, maintaining a relaxed environment. Now, I'm sure we all understand that's not always the easiest thing to do. We tend to get worked up about things. Maybe that's just our personality style, or maybe we're just passionate about something, or it impacts our job or our personal life. But finding it within ourselves to remain calm and relaxed, there can be benefits to our relationships, to our environment, and even our health. These are just a few attributes that comprise the supportive communication style, which Toastmasters Pathways tells me is my strongest. But there are others, such as analytical, direct, initiating. And they all have attributes or strategies that are very useful when communicating. And I recognize, and we should all recognize, that these can be applied in a variety of situations. And for me, not only can I apply my strongest attributes, but I can work to apply a variety of attributes to help me professionally, personally, and even here at Toastmasters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aaron, for sharing your communication style with us. Taking a part in a conversation is very important. It's not a back and forth. It's really about two people having a conversation together. And I really like that. So great speech. Our next and final speaker of the day is going to be Mr. John Roberts. He will be giving a speech titled Steps from His Path, Motivational Strategies, Level 3, from Project Emotional Intelligence, and the time is 5 to 7 minutes. John is approaching his third year as member of Toastmasters. He is a member of PG Articulators number 6956, where he serves as VP of Membership, and he is a charter member of Five Rings Financial and Friends, where he serves as VP Education and Treasurer. John is also serving as the Public Relations Manager for District 66 for the 2020 to 2021 year. Now you have a name and a face to blame for all of the emails that you have been inundated with from the district. John?
Thank you, Tyler. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, has everybody seen the movie Ghostbusters, the original from 1984? I'm sure everybody has. It was a great movie in its heyday. It's still a great movie today. There's a line that I really love in that movie. It's towards the end when they're about to face one of the final demons. and Dan Aykroyd looks to his left and he sees the stairs. And he goes, where do these stairs go? Bill Murray moves into frame and in his most deadpan, dry comedic delivery says, they go up. Now, I've always loved that line, thought it was very funny. But recently, I don't know if it's the years on me or the gray hair, I saw it a little differently. And it wasn't as funny. It's still funny, but it wasn't as funny. But it made me think, all stairs, every step we take, it does raise us up. They go up. No matter where stairs go, they do go up. And we have the opportunity to fall down those stairs too, but we can always, because we took those steps to move up. And when I say steps, I mean like setting a goal. And there are two real impediments to taking steps to reach a goal that we have. The first is taking that first step. Because I'll set a goal, something I want to do, and I'll think about the first step I've got to take. And I'll measure that step. I know how deep it is. I know how high it is off the ground. I know what kind of material it's made of, what time of day I should take that step, what kind of footwear I should wear to take that step. If it's wet, it should be better or worse. And then I'm paralyzed. I've overthought the process, and I never take the step to reach that goal. I don't know if anybody else suffers from that, but I suffer from it quite a bit. The second part is that when you take that first step, when it's no problem taking a step, the impediment is you got to take another. It's not just one step and you're going to be done. You've got to consistently take a step and the next step and the next step. And sometimes you can take, but you can't do that for very long and you have to slow down and you're going to have to pace yourself back to a consistency where you're taking a. Even if you can't see your goal when you're taking those steps, you still got to consistently take those steps every day. When we set our goals, we are always asked the same question. You know, they want to know what your BHAG is, your big, hairy, audacious goal. What are you going to work for? And they ask the same question. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And this brings up all kinds of answers for us to project as a goal. Now, to be honest, I think this is kind of a BS question because the question should be, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail, but you had to work consistently for the next 365 days to achieve it? To work 365 days straight to achieve that goal on the 366th day. That puts skin in the game. Now you have something that you know you have to work for, not just a dream, but you have a goal and you know how to get there. You may not know every step, but you still know you have to put in work for 365 days. And then for the bigger, hairier, more audacious goal, think about what would you do to work for if you knew in that 5th year you could achieve everything you wanted. I mean, that's longer than high school. Long years of your life, 60 months that you'd have to work every day to put forward to be able to work towards that goal. What would you do? Would you be willing every day to make that goal? So my point with this is it takes a lot more work to achieve those goals. We have to take steps every day. And I want you to think about it when you walk into your home or into your office, into a building, and you see a set of steps. Let that remind you of the goal you set for yourself and to work that day. Let that be your reminder. Every time you see a step, you know you will raise up. Because when you see that set of steps in your home or your office or whichever, those steps, they do go up. Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you very much for your speech, John. Great. I don't think we need to go into a break unless anyone really wants to. We've only been going for 40 minutes now. Does anyone really need a break right now? No? Okay, then we are going to move into our table topics for the day. We again have the lovely Jay Weezy giving us the table topics for today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I try to think of interesting topics, as I'm sure everybody tries to. I heard a subject the other day that I thought would be really fun to explore during our meeting today. And it's all about the senses. So, that being said, who's going to be my first victim?
Just to clarify, are you talking about the five senses?
Yes.
Okay, you shouldn't have prefaced it like that, but I'll go.
Okay, great. It's not bad. It's just because I like to talk like that. Okay, so here's your topic, Earl. Tell me about a time that you have experienced love at first smell.
Love at first smell. So there are a lot of smells that when I smell them, they take me to another place. Whether it be, it makes me think of a certain place, a certain time, sometimes a certain person. So as a teen, I was not very knowledgeable about women and all the rigmarole they go through to get prettied up. But when I got into school, college, I did have a girlfriend, who wore Liz Claiborne, which that scent is somehow ingrained in my mind. And later on in life, I don't necessarily find love at first smell, but when I smell that scent, it immediately takes me back to that time with someone who I was in love with at the time, and arguably was the one who got away. But it just goes to illustrate that senses can be tied to memories. And that's all.
Thank you very much, Earl.
Jay Weezy, I wanted to point out we had one more guest join us, Nami.
Yes.
So
Welcome.
you joined the meeting early on the meeting, but we were kind of rolling. I didn't want to disrupt everything, but I just wanted to welcome you. And if you could really fast, just tell us how you found us.
Good morning. Yes, so I actually found the event on Eventbrite.
Okay.
I was looking at what the Toastmasters do, and just want to find out is this something that would be useful to me. So kind of wanted to sit on this and watch.
Okay. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, back to you, Jay Weezy.
Thank you very much. I read somewhere that smell is the one sense out of all five of them that is actually tied to memory the strongest. So what you were saying actually makes sense. There are times when I can smell something and it just is immediately associated with a memory. So does anybody else in the group have a love at first smell?
Does food count?
Yes, absolutely. Goodness. Okay, so we'll move past the smell. Who wants to be the next speaker for our table topics?
I will, Jess.
Fantastic, Miss Vernell. Okay, so Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to describe for us a sound that drives you up the wall.
Good morning, Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters and guests. A sign that drives me up the wall. I have several, but I will focus on one. And that is gritting your teeth. That sound drives me up the wall. In my heyday, it drove me up the wall. In my non-heyday, it continued to drive me up the wall, and it still drives me up the wall today. I had an aunt who I lived with for about 6 or 7 months, and she would grind her teeth. And I remember this so well. We were at a church service, and she was grinding her teeth, and I'm thinking, am I the only one who's hearing this? Is everybody around her hearing this as well? I glanced over, I looked at the rest of the people in the pew, and no one seemed to hear her at all. So I'm continuing to hear her grind her teeth, and I sort of nudge her, and I said, Aunt Althea, do you know? And she said, yeah, I know, but I also know that you pop your gum, and I don't like to hear that either. All righty then, I said to myself. I was definitely put back in my place as a teenager, but that memory stays in my mind. Table Topics Master.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Miss Burnell. I think mouth noises in general drive me up the wall. I had a teacher once who used to love to eat Tootsie Rolls, and she would do it right behind my head, and it was out of control. Anybody else in the group have a sound that drives them completely up the wall they want to talk about? Okay. On to the next sense. Does anybody else want to volunteer to talk?
Donnell, yeah, I was going to say, Donnell's got a big grin. He's ready to.
You're actually just the person I was hoping for this one, because I had a feeling that you're going to make this fun, Donnell. All right. So this, I'm reaching out of the 5 senses box for. We're going to talk about our spidey sense, that 6th sense, right? So I would like for you to think about a time that your spidey sense was tingling and how it might have served you.
Okay, bear with me here. All right. Wow. Okay. All right. My spidey sense. Okay, one day, actually, I was stationed. I was getting transferred from Virginia to California, so I had to drive across country, and actually, let me back up. I was coming back from California to Virginia. I did both, and I was coming back across country. And what the military does, the military, as some of you know, we get like per diem and all that. We get a certain amount of days to drive across, and if you do it quickly, you can save a little money. So I was driving back. It was in February. So I was trying to take a southern route. And I did for the most part. But when I got close to North Carolina, where I'm from, I was going to take leave. Tennessee had basically a winter storm, and it was like ice everywhere on the road. And obviously, people were still driving, and I hate the snow actually. And my spidey sense was telling me to get to a hotel and be safe. But I didn't listen to it. So I kept driving because everybody else is driving. Why do I need to stop? But I'm going to keep driving. And I'm driving, and finally my car, I'm going through, I'll say maybe I got about an hour or so to North Carolina to get to the mountains. And my car spins around, and I have a semi. I'm looking at a semi coming towards me, and then I just crashed. My car just crashes to a bank of snow. So I thought I shouldn't have been trying to be like everybody else. Some people can drive on ice. Some people can drive in the snow. But my spidey sense was telling me I don't belong on the road. But I didn't listen to it. Miss Toastmaster of the day. I'm sorry, Miss Table Topics.
That was a good one. Oh my goodness. You had me clutching my pearls on that one. I thought you were going to say you hit the truck. Thank you very much for that. Any other volunteers for table topics? Okay. We got one? Sean? Okay. Tell us about your favorite sound in the world and why it's important to you.
Okay, that's a tough one. Favorite sound in the world. Well, I guess my favorite sound in the world would be something that's pretty routine, and I guess I'm always cautious as to my car being in proper order whenever I go somewhere, since I rely on it so much. So anytime I start it, I'm always looking for ticks or bugs that sound incorrect. Even though I don't know much about cars, I guess I'm a little paranoid when it comes to making sure I keep it in the proper order. So I guess a sound of a good engine starting would be one of my favorite sounds. And I guess it's just a reassuring thing, knowing, and it's kind of like knowing that I won't be caught out there as much when I'm trying to complete a task. So that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's an interesting one. I don't know if anybody else has ever had the experience, but I've had several of them where I've heard a funny sound come out of my car, and then you got to go take it to the mechanic and try to describe what's going on, like make the noise at them. And they always look at you like you have two heads. I'm like, no, it really went right. So
yeah,
okay.
and Googling it is even harder, you know.
You got to put onomatopoeia in the Google.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Kinema! Okay. All right. my task for you is to talk about a sight sometime in your life that was a sight for sore eyes, something that you saw that just made everything light up.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. When I think of a site that really brought my life up was when I was going around, I was making a trip around the most southern part of the Americas, trying to get around the Horn and part of my ship. We were out at sea for such a long period of time, for like 3 or 4 months. And as we're coming around the bottom part of Chile, we saw land. And that land, there was a beautiful sunset. And on the mountains, far off in the mountainside, you could see the sunset come. Sadly, I was still stuck on the ship, but I could still see far off how beautiful it is to witness such a beautiful sight from afar. And that even though being stuck on a boat, as you guys may know, remember I'm a United States sailor, it just reminded me that you can't take a lot of things for granted, how beautiful it is, that the world has a lot of beautiful sights to see. And so that is something that really brightened up my day. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I'm lucky enough that I get to drive over the Hampton Roads Bridge every morning going to work, and I always catch the sunrise, and it is one of the best things in the world. Okay, so I think we have one more sense left. We have any other takers? All right, hearing none, I'm going to hand it back to the Toastmaster of the day.
All right. Thank you very much, Jay Weezy, for your creative table topics of the day. Next, we are going to get into our evaluation portion of the meeting, where we have speakers evaluate our prepared speeches. And to do that, we are going to turn it over to the general evaluator, Miss Vernell.
Good morning again. Before I start, I noticed on the agenda that John's evaluator is Chris. Was another one assigned?
I guess that means no.
I guess not, unless John set something up.
I emailed the evaluation to Chris this morning, but I guess he wasn't here.
Anyone happen to take any notes?
I can do your evaluation, John.
All right, thank you. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Once more, our first speaker was Jess, and her evaluator is Ray.
Good morning, Janelle, and especially you, Jesse. When I read the title of the speech, "The Worst Day at Work Ever," and after hearing the speech, it was a very well-named speech. I try to make very interesting titles myself. It doesn't always work well, but this one really did. You almost had an idea of what she was going to be talking about. I didn't know exactly, but she was very visual with her gestures and describing things. So she really excelled at visual gestures. And she stated, as she was doing things in the front of the store, that she was surprised about an overflowing bucket. I thought that was a really strange comment because, you know, if you always walk off and leave running water, it's always going to overflow. Never leave running water alone. That's the first thing my mother taught me as a child, because I did do that. And I said, well, I thought it would stop itself. And my mother just kind of rolled her eyes at me, and yeah. But, you know, it was really very, very effective. And the things that they were supposed to be focusing on is unintentional movements, not having any, and purposeful movements, having the kind of movement that you want to express. And she was very focused on both of those. And it wasn't that she wasn't focused on the rest of the things that she needed to do. She accomplished everything she needed to do, but then she excels at several things that she needed to do. And she was really focused on the unintentional and purposeful movements, which I thought was very good because that takes a lot of time. One of the things you might want to work on is your reaction to the driver's statement of, some days you should stay in bed. And I know that more now than I did when I was younger. I would drag myself to work no matter what, because I thought it was that important. But now, if I'm not feeling well, if I'm off key, off center, it means I'm going to have a bad day. And I've learned to listen to my body and say, okay, you need another day of rest. I will give it to you. You might want to challenge yourself to express your misery about the night before. We don't know exactly what you did to yourself. It was very low-keyed in your presentation, and you could have amped it up. You could have said, I probably should have stopped after 2 beers, or whatever was the foretaste. Or maybe it was just a really bad work night, and it was exhausting, and that's why you had a bad morning. So I think that's something you could have worked on a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker was Aaron, and I am his evaluator. The topic of his speech, stay calm and communicate on. His goal is to tell us what his communication style is. His opening was quite intriguing. I heard 195 countries, and I'm thinking, what does that have to do with communication? But he immediately drew me in again because he said 6,500 different languages. Oh, now that ties in with his title. He went on to tell us that TI had given him a title, supportive communicator. He linked that supportive communication to his words. Humans need patience. We struggle to listen. Patience leads to active listening. All very excellent phrases when we're talking about listening and communication. He went on then to tell us that he is going to improve himself with his supportive listening. And he also can incorporate other listening styles in his supportive listening. I would suggest that you work on your vocal variety, your research, your information that you presented was spot on. The language that you use could help us, all communicators, in anything that we endeavor to do, especially active listening and how we can active listen. That could be a challenge to all of us. What can you challenge yourself on? Every speech, in my opinion, should have a personal story associated with it. Stories bring not only your enthusiasm into your story, but it also helps to relate your story to others. Job well done. I especially liked your word choices, your fact that you researched it, and you also had a feeling that I thought said that I am going to use this to my best advantage and also try to help others as I help myself. Thank you very much for your speech. I listen to hear from you at a future time. Our next speaker was John, and his evaluator is Jess. Thank you so much, Jess, for stepping up.
Fantastic. Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I very, very much enjoyed John's speech today. I've heard John speak before, and he's always been a great speaker, but today's speech resonated with me on kind of a different level. I want to start off and say that your Ghostbusters quote caught my attention immediately. So you clearly know your audience, and you know that once you use a movie line, you've got us on the hook. So good on you for that. What I really appreciated about that quote was how you took something that was comedic and you kind of went deep on us with it, and you found a much deeper lesson in that quote when you were talking about the line where Bill Murray says the stairs go up, which is hilarious because of his deadpan humor, but then you turn it into a lesson about perseverance, essentially, right? And I think you had very, very excellent points when it came to talking about your goals and reaching your goals. And you also took the quote about what would you do if you knew you could achieve anything, right? And change that one around into a totally new lesson. And at least for me, you made me think a lot. It's not just about having lofty goals. It's about understanding that you have to have the grit to keep getting up and keep working after something, knowing that it's going to be difficult, and continuing to do that anyway. So I thought that your content was very inspiring. It touched me on a personal level, especially since I'm going through some situations right now that I needed to hear that. I thought that your tone, your variance in tone was excellent. It was not boring or monotone at all. You created distance and closed that distance in between the camera, which made it feel a lot more like we were here in person with you, which was very nice. And you used a whole lot of hand gestures. The one thing I noticed is that when I was trying to take pictures of this meeting, I found it very difficult because you were moving so fast to actually get a picture of you that was still, everything was blurry. But I think that's like first world technology problems, right? Overall, I think you had an absolutely fantastic and inspiring speech. Your body language and your tone were absolutely excellent, and I thank you very much.
That concludes the evaluation portion of our meeting. Now we will call on our helpers, and we will begin with the timer. Earl.
Madam General Evaluator. Whoa. So for our prepared speeches, which were 5 to 7 minutes, Jess came in at 6 minutes, 35 seconds. Aaron at 5 minutes, 37 seconds, and John, 4 minutes and 47 seconds. Our table topics, which are 1 to 2 minutes, I was in at 1 minute, 29 seconds. Ms. Vernell, 1 minute, 43 seconds. Donnell, 2 minutes, 49 seconds. Sean, 1 minute, 6 seconds, and Kidma, 1 minute, 16 seconds. For our evaluators, which are 2 to 3 minutes, Ms. Ray was 3 minutes, 37 seconds. Ms. Vernell, 2 minutes 42 seconds, and Jay Weezy, 2 minutes 59 seconds. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is our listen up and awe counter. Donnell.
Okay, for listen up and awe, I get the odd portion out of it. We were pretty much clean. I heard a couple of them, but for the most part, we were good. It wasn't distracting. Now for the listen up. Tyler, he started the meeting off and he read a poem. Who wrote the poem and what's the poem name?
Sunrise.
All right. Sunrise, yes, was the name. And Mary Who? By Mary Who? Oliver. Okay. Jess or Jay Weezy. She asked a question when she started her speech. What was that question?
Have any of us been 18?
Correct. All right. And she was drinking she wanted to drink a soda. What was she actually drinking?
Ashtray.
Ashes.
Ashes.
Yeah.
You had to bring that up again.
Miss Fernell, she actually mentioned this again, but Aaron told us how many countries are in the world and how many different languages.
195.
What was that?
65, is that right?
129 countries, 6,500 ways to communicate.
Okay, I could be wrong. Maybe I didn't listen well.
195 countries, 6,500 languages.
I guess I listened well.
That's right.
I said it with confidence, man.
Okay. And Aaron said, be aware of what? When you're communicating with someone. Their body language and your body language. Okay. John mentioned a movie. Softball question for you. What was it?
Ghostbusters.
What year was that? What year did that come out?
In 84.
Yeah.
To achieving your goal, what's the very first thing you do?
Take a step.
Thank you. Okay, table topics. Earl mentioned a scent. What was that particular scent that was ingrained in his mind?
Claiborne.
Correct. Miss Fernell, she mentioned that one sound that drove her completely crazy or drove her up the wall. What was that?
Teeth grinding.
Right. And this may be a little.
And as a dentist, yeah, that sucks.
And a little harder question. What was her aunt's name?
Althea?
Yes. What was her aunt's last name?
Oh.
She didn't say it. Trick question. Just joking. Okay. Back in my not heyday of driving, where did I drive from and where did I drive to?
North Carolina or Virginia to California.
The other way.
Other way. California.
And actually, it was both. It was both. But yes, where did I have my little? Where did I run off the road at? What state?
No,
Tennessee.
What was that?
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah. What is Sean's favorite sound?
It's car starting.
Well-running vehicle.
And Kidama mentioned she had this sight for sore eyes. Where was she when she saw this?
Off of Chile.
On a ship
Okay.
around
yes,
the corner
yes.
from Chile.
Okay, and that was my next question. She already mentioned that. Okay. All right, and that concludes my questions. Turn it back over to you. Ms. Vernell?
Oh, sorry. Kidama is our grammarian and word master.
Thank you, Vernell. Today, a lot of people use great words and figures of speech. I've heard things like ripe old age of 18, worse for wear, hand in hand, and the word impediment. Even learned a new phrase, BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. Clutching my pearls, endeavor to do. The word of the day today, people have used it multiple times. Tyler said it once, John once, Vernell said it 2 times in her speech, and Donnell just said it right now. So thank you for your participation. Back to you, Vernell.
All right, now it's my opportunity to evaluate the entire meeting. We started on time. All of our speeches were excellent. They gave us something to think about with your worst day, what you can do better at work, our communication style, and then go on to our goals and challenges. All well done. I especially like the comparison in my mind between speaking, goals, and what we do at work. What can we as a club challenge ourselves to do better? And the only thing I could think of in this meeting, because we didn't have an evaluator for one of our speakers, is to review our agenda before we start. So everything was very well done. And I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. And I'll turn it back over to the Toastmaster of the day, Tyler.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Vernell. Next, let's see. We will be doing the agenda for the next meeting because I am also not only the Toastmaster of the day, but the Vice President of Education as well. And if you go to the live version of the agenda, which was sent out with the email, you can watch me update it as we go along. So the next meeting will be happening on September 19th. And who wants to be the Toastmaster of the day?
Did you get that, Aaron?
Aaron? Okay.
I haven't done that, so.
Yeah, I can't see too well on the cell phone sometimes. And next for Topics Master,
Ray.
Ray. General Evaluator for the next meeting?
Do it done now.
I saw
John.
John raise his hand. So I'll put down John. Our grammarian / word master of the day.
I'll do it.
I
Jess.
see Jess. Counter and listen up for the next meeting.
I can
do that
I can
one.
take that. Okay.
I'll do
Good.
it. Hit 'em up.
Okay.
Okay, we got 3 people. I'll put down.
Yeah.
I'll put down Sean. Kidima, do you want to be the timer?
Sure.
Sure, okay. And vote counter. Who wants to count the votes?
I can do that.
Earl? Okay. All right, fun part. Speeches. Who's ready to give a speech in 2 weeks?
I can get one ready, but I've talked the last 2 times, so I'm kind of waiting to see if anybody else wants to do it.
I will give a speech. Ray.
Ray will give a speech. Okay. Would anyone else like to give a speech?
I mean, yeah, go ahead and put me down, I guess. So.
Oh, okay, you'll be speaker number 2 again.
Another one. Why not?
Is that Aaron?
Yep.
And Jess, you said you wanted to go?
Yep.
Anyone else? I need to give a speech, so I'll put myself down.
Good on you, sir.
All right, going once, going twice, no takers. Okay, now we need some evaluators to help evaluate. Who would like to evaluate Ray for the next meeting?
I'll do it.
Jess? Okay. And who would like to evaluate Aaron?
I can do it. Ray.
I'll do it.
Donnell.
Donnell.
Danelle? Okay, put down Danelle. And who would like to evaluate Jess?
Unmute.
I can do it, Kidama.
Kidima or Earl?
You can just put, yeah. Put 1 for 3 and 1 for 4.
Okay. Okay. That just about does it. We'll have Aaron for Toastmaster of the Day, Ray as Topics Master, John as General Evaluator, Jay Weezy as Grammarian, Sean as the odd counter, Kidima as the timer, Earl as the vote counter. And for speakers, we have Ray, Aaron, Jess, and Tyler. And evaluators, we have Jess, Danelle, Kidima, and Earl. That just about wraps it up.
Yep.
I'm going to go back to my Toastmaster of the Day role. I'm going to call on Sean to give us the results of the best awards presentation. Sean, take it away.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. We didn't get too many votes in, so I'm not sure if some people missed the email.
I didn't get the email.
Oh,
Neither did I checked promotions too, and it's not in there.
oh
Yeah.
man. All right.
I don't have it.
Okay. All right. I sent it to 16 people. I don't know if. All right. But
Oh yeah, I got it. I'm sorry. I did get it.
okay. So all right, maybe we can go like an extra minute or two, and then I'll tally it up. I do have enough to go on.
Does anybody want me to read another poem?
Sure.
Aaron, I'm gonna I'm sorry, Sean, I'm gonna private message you, okay?
Okay.
Okay, in the meantime, I will read another poem by Mary Oliver from Dreamwork. This poem is called Dreams. All night, the dark buds of dreams open richly. In the center of every petal is a letter. And you imagine if you could only remember and string them all together, they would spell the answer. It is a long night and not an easy one. You have so many branches, and there are diversions. Birds that come and go, the black fox that lies down to sleep beneath you. The moon staring with her bone-white eye. Finally, you have spent all the energy you can, and you drag from the ground the muddy skirt of your roots, and leap awake with 2 or 3 syllables like water in your mouth, and a sense of loss. A memory not yet of a word, certainly not yet the answer, only how it feels. When deep in the tree, all the locks click open, and the fire surges through the wood, and the blossoms blossom. Dreams by Mary Oliver. Have we come to a consensus yet?
All right. Yes, we have.
All right.
Okay.
Take it away.
All right. Hot off the presses here. For best speaker, Jess, aka Jay Weezy, is going to edge it out. Congratulations. All right. The best table topics goes to Earl. And for best evaluator, we have Vernell. Congratulations and good job, everybody.
All right. Thank you for giving out the awards. As VPE, I would like to also congratulate Aaron for completing his level 1 and moving on to level 2. So congratulations, Aaron. And with that, we will move on to Earl for the guest comments and meeting adjournment. Earl?
Okay. So 2 things. So first off, earlier in the meeting, I had talked about potentially switching to Zoom for our meetings. So does anyone have any issues with that? No. Okay. As a user, you don't really need an account. You actually don't even need to install the application. You can run it from your browser if you're so inclined. So I'll look into that, but regardless, you'll see an email from me if we decide to go that way. And then secondly, I'd like to invite our guest, Isaiah. If you have feedback, we'd like to hear it. No pressure. If you don't feel like speaking, that's cool.
Sure. Yeah. I'll just like to say a few things, but yeah. I mean, I do think that something that that you all did today. I think that will help me out a lot too, because I'm not a very good speaker, but I think there are certain tools, right, and certain like skills that I can learn that can help me. Yeah, I learned a lot here, and yeah, can't wait to see you all at the next one.
Okay, that's great to hear. Yeah, for a lot of us, we have trouble speaking, and it can be very intimidating to come into a group and you don't know anybody and you're kind of a little apprehensive about speaking up. But one thing about our group is it's a very casual atmosphere. Everyone's very friendly, so it's not like you're talking to a bunch of strangers. You're talking to your friends, and it makes it, in my mind, it makes it much, much easier to speak. And then you can just sort of get into that habit of speaking. Eventually, you don't worry about who you're speaking in front of, just speaking.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's all there is. Does anyone have any comments or concerns they'd like to share?
I thought we had 2 more guests. Did they leave? Yes.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, I'll follow up with them by email.
All right, thanks, John. Okay, if not, everyone have a great weekend. Try to get outside if you can. All right.
I'm quarantined.
How do we pay the membership?
Actually,
Whatever
John,
we
can you
do.
help me out on this? So if we pay it through the TI website, that does not include the club fees or
Right.
our club fees. And how do we pay the club fees?
Usually by what we've done in the past is either a check when we were meeting in person, of course. We could mail them, and Michelle is. If you want to Venmo her money, like the $5, she can put it in the account. You could also Venmo her the $50, and she'll just put it all in the. And she'll pay it. She'll put it in. She has the credit from the bank account. So if you Venmo her the $50, she'll pay the $45 for you. The membership dues.
So just
Okay.
text her and ask for her Venmo or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd probably be the best.
Okay.
Or you can send her if y'all can meet, any way you want to. But she's the treasurer this period, so this year, so she's going to be the one.
Give her the money.
I had to learn how to use Venmo for it, but it's actually pretty easy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I had $8 sitting in there for about 2 years, so I just gave her that.
It made me feel very old. I was like yelling at myself and like, what? Just send the money. I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Goodbye.
Okay. Have a great weekend.
And see you, everybody.